Hello, this is Jason Hassman, and today we are going to review the InsuranceIQ system and specifically focusing on the administration console and the steps through that process. We went over some basic training on an earlier webinar. If you do have interest in seeing that webinar, it is saved on our page. You can go look up InsuranceIQ General Training to go through the basic overview of the system. Today our focus is just going to be on administrative items for our clients that are using the administration console. To start off, we are on the dashboard screen right here, which is our home page. I'm not going to go through the items on this page. I just want to show you how to get into the administration console from this page. So to get to the administration console, you're going to go to the lower left-hand corner and click on the Admin tab. And then if you go above here, the last item you see should be Admin Console. We're going to click that, and it's going to take us to the Admin Console summary page. So on this page, you can see a number of items, specifically a premium console, which is where you're probably going to spend most of your time. In the center of the page, you'll see an admin fees console for those that would like to track fees through the console. And then on the right-hand side, there is a missing information line. So if you want to go through and review some of the information that is missing on your trust accounts, you can see some of the different items that we have here. So owner tax ID, date of the trust, trust with no grantor, so on and so forth. Nice ways to keep on top of your information. We are going to focus most of our attention on the premium console. Again, this is the most used portion of this page and the item that we want to spend most of our time on today. On the premium console, up at the top of the page is where we have our 5 steps in the console. So gift notices, waiting for gifts, Crummey letters, premium payments, and completed policy payments. Down below there is a premium monitor section, so you can see what I'll call an aging report or an upcoming premiums report. Under this you'll see unknown due date, so if you have policies that do not show a premium due date currently, those would need to be remedied. Overdue premiums, and then premiums due in these specific time periods coming up. Down at the bottom of the page, you will see zero out-of-pocket policies and contractually paid-up policies. So you can subtract those from your items above to see just how many premiums you actually have due. To start off our day today, we are going to go to the top of the premium console and the gift notices step. With these steps, you'll see the names that we have, and over on the right-hand side, the number of policies that are currently within this step. So I show 6 policies that are in the gift notices step. In order to get into the gift notices step, what a policy will have to do is be within 90 days of the premium due date. So each policy that is set with a premium due date in InsuranceIQ is going to automatically pull into this step 90 days before that due date. The goal here is to notify you when you have policies that are going to require some notice of gift, so something that you need to send to the client. So now to see the 6 policies that are currently in this step, I can do one of 2 things. I can either click on the number right here, so I could click on the 6, or I can click on where it says gift notices. That's going to take me to the gift notices table or the gift notices grid. Within this grid, you'll see that we have 6 policies that have pulled into this step. Most of these are going to be due within the next 90 days. However, this is a test account, so the due dates really are meaningless. They're just dates that we use to mess around with these different policies. So we can either do trainings or do testings on our end. On this grid, you'll notice that we have a number of items available to you, or a lot of information available to you. I'm going to start at the top of the page. At the top of the page, you'll see that we have some different selections or options for moving throughout the console. The first item here is a red X mark with a close button. This is going to close down this step. So if I click this button, it would close me out of this step and take me back to the admin console summary page. The next item that you'll see here is a view policy button. So if I am clicked on to one of these policies down in the grid below, and I will state now that these premiums are going to default, or these policies are going to default to show the next upcoming premium or the earliest premium due. So it's going to sort them by premium due date. If I'm clicked on to one of these policies, so if I click on here and it highlights in blue, that means that this is the policy that I have selected. And up above, these options are going to pertain to that policy. If I hit the View Policy button, it's going to take that policy that I was selected on, the Tim Popple Family Trust policy right here. It will take me to that policy details page. So I could go to view this policy in more in-depth detail. Next item is the View Trust button. This will take me to the trust details page where I could review information. I'm going to skip the next two buttons here. We'll go through those in just a little more detail later. The last item here is the Export button. If you were on the general training session, you know that this Export button will allow you to export any of the information in the table below, so all of this information, into an Excel spreadsheet. So if I clicked Export, it would let me save this outside of the system to an Excel spreadsheet, so I could either provide that to someone or manipulate that information further. A couple of other items to note here. We try to put as much information on this page as we think that you're going to need to administer this policy or trust. So the first item that I want to focus on, if I'm clicked onto the Tim Popple Family Trust, is over on the right-hand side of the page. You'll see that we have a Trust Notes section and a Policy Notes section. Any notes that you have entered at the trust or policy level will show up automatically on these pages. Each time that I click on a different policy, you'll see that corresponding notes section pull up. This allows you to have those administrative notes available to you when you come to this page. The goal is to make it so that you don't have to go back to the trust or policy details screen. You have everything that you need right here on this page, trying to increase that efficiency for you as the administrator. Another item to note is over on the left-hand side of the table, you'll see that we have these little plus signs. Anytime that you see this plus sign in our system, that means that there is more information that is currently hidden. So if I hit the plus sign for this Tim Popple Family Trust, it's going to open that up, and now I have trust account number, carrier, policy number, and more importantly, last premium paid date, last out-of-pocket amount, current premium amounts down below. So I have this additional information that I can use to help me create that gift notice or know whether or not I need to create that gift notice or gift request. What you'll also see over here is an admin console tracker. The system is set to automatically log any movement through the console right here on this page. So you can see the steps that have been taken with each of these policies. The last step taken here, premium moved from step 4 to step 5, premium paid, and then the person that created that. So I actually created this or moved this policy on March 12th of 2015. So right there you have the user that made that movement, the date of the movement, and the movement that was actually made. A nice way to audit any accounts and to see past history on those policies. I'm going to close down this policy right now, and I'm actually going to click down here on this Angela Smith irrevocable trust policy. I mentioned earlier that we're going to go through a couple of the items above in more detail. That would be the process button and change step button. I'm going to start with the change step button, which is this button right here with a little green check mark. This change step button allows you to move any of the policies within one of these steps into another step in the console. So let's say that you have funds in the trust that are going to cover the premium for the policy that's clicked in. So for this Angela Smith irrevocable trust policy, we have cash in the account. We don't need to send a gift request. So there's no reason to go through the gift notices step. What I would do is highlight this policy, go to my change step button, and now it's going to allow me to select which step in the console that I want to move this policy to. If we have funds in the account, then we're not going to need to wait for a gift. We already have those available. We won't need to send Crummey notices because a gift did not come in. So I'm going to move this to the premium payment step. At that point in time, what I can do is hit submit, and it's going to force a log. So on the general training, we went through the trust and policy logs. Any movement in the console or any change step that you use in the console is going to force you to log that action. That way, we at ITM 21st and also any of your coworkers or other officers can see why that movement was made. So my log might be funds available in trust to cover premium. When I hit submit, that's now logged to that policy, and if someone was interested in why that movement was made, they can go find that log and see exactly why I made that movement. All right, now we're ready to go to the more important step, which is the process step. The process step is actually going to take us through whatever action we need to take with this specific console step. So with our gift notices step, I'm going to select a policy, and we're going to work with the LeBron James Trust, and specifically this term policy right here. I can hit the process button up above, which is our little orange and black exclamation point, or I can use this one right here, right next to the policy. I'm going to select this one right here, and we're going to maneuver to the next page. The next page that it will take you to is what we call the process pages. This is the gift and fee request page. And you can see a lot of information below. I'll walk you through some of the different items that you have available to you and some of the other efficiencies that you can find by using these different console steps. Up at the top of the page, there is a template notice here, and down below is where all of our selections are made. So this is how we're creating the template or selecting the template that we're going to use. The first drop-down is a type drop-down. It's going to default to grantor letter. You can't select anything else, so you might as well just leave that be. Next item is kind of a cool item that you have available to you, and that is where you can select the template that you want to use. So on the fly, you can pick a different gift notice template for this specific policy. So if you have created, for instance, a notice for an account that is transferring internally, so maybe they have a checking account with the bank or trust company, and they want to use that to transfer that gift into the ILET account. You can have a special notice set up for that. Maybe you have a notice set up for a policy that is in poor shape, or a policy where they're not paying premiums. You can select that notice at that time. By hitting that drop-down, it will pull in. I can see all of the different templates that I have available to me. I'm just going to use this standard gift notice template. so I'm going to leave it be. What you can also do at the trust settings page is set the template that is going to be the default for each specific trust account. So if you have a single trust account that should not get the standard gift notice template, you can go to the settings page for that trust and select a different one that will automatically pull in. That way you don't need to remember which template you use for these odd accounts. Next item is the date of letter. Pretty self-explanatory. You can enter in any date. It will default to today's date. Next item is letter signatory. So who is signing your letters? Is it the relationship manager on the account? Do you just have an officer sign each letter? You can make that selection here. It will default to settings that you have at the account at the account level. So it can be set to pull in automatically, and then you can make those changes on each account. Document type is just how you want this to generate. I'm going to leave it as a Word doc for now. Next items are beneficiaries to include and contacts to CC in letters. So if you wanted to have individuals CC'd or added to letters, you can select them here. The next box is the most important box, and this is the premium and fees table or grid. This is where you select what is going to be included in this gift notice. Down below premium amounts, you'll see that we have one policy that is grayed out and automatically checked right here in this checkbox. This is the policy that you selected when you were at the admin console, that gift notices page. If you click the process button on that policy, it's going to automatically select that as a policy that you're going to include in this notice. Kind of makes sense. Otherwise, you would not have selected that for your process. Over to the right here, there's little information that you can edit on this page right here, because it's going to pull in automatically from the premiums page at the policy details screen. So on that specific policy, it's going to pull in information that you have entered there. However, you can make changes to the amount payable. So if you wanted to request a different amount from what is set as the current or out-of-pocket premium on the premium page, you can make that change here. So let's say instead of $3,000, you're only going to request $2,500 for this policy. You can edit that in this amount payable column. That will not change, however, what is listed on the specific policy page. If a client is planning to change what they are paying out of pocket, so instead of the $3,000 that was entered here, if the client is deciding that they're only going to pay $2,500 year over year, you need to make sure that that's also changed at the premium screen at the policy details page. That is the page that we use to run our reviews, so you need to make sure that those premiums match. Now, if this is just a one-time thing that they're going to pay a little less, you can make the change right here, no problem. You can also add a couple of other items. I mentioned earlier that anytime you see a plus sign, that means that there is additional information available to you. Here we have a plus sign, so I'm going to click that. And it now opens up an option to pay loan interest or loan principal, or to request loan interest or loan principal. If I wanted to add one of these items, I just need to click the checkbox. That opens it up as an editable field, and I can enter the amount that I want to request for loan interest and for loan principal. So I'm now requesting not only the $2,500 for the premium, but an additional $1,600 for loan interest and loan principal. What this screen is also going to pull in, so in this premium amounts page, is all other policies that are currently owned by the trust. And it's going to show me those due dates, amounts, carrier policy number, other information. So if I wanted to add another policy to this request, I could just by checking right next to that policy. What you may have noticed by now is down at the bottom here, there is a total amount requested box that is updating each and every time that I make a change up here. So if I remove this $10,000 premium, you can see that this amount has updated. If I add it back in, again, there it updates. I'm not going to include this because this premium is not due until November of 2017. So we'll leave that be. And move down to the outstanding admin fees section. This again will pull in all admin fee invoices that have been created on the account, and I can go through and select which ones that I want to request with this gift. So here's a past due fee that I want to include, and maybe I also want to include this one right here. So there are 2 admin fees that I'm now adding to this request. And moving down to our next items available. There is an other fees section. If I want to include other fees, maybe there's a tax prep fee. So I'm going to check that box, which opens up my editable field here. And my tax prep fee is $250. And now I can add a note to this other fee description box. The last option here is for deductions. Deductions would be anything that you want to pull away from that total amount requested field. So let's say that they had some credit. Maybe they had a credit for their tax prep fee. Or more commonly, they have a cash balance in the account. The nice thing with InsuranceIQ, if you are actively using the accounting tab and updating that accounting tab, it's going to pull in the cash balance that is available in the account. So up here you can see cash balance $20,800. So if I see that and I've updated this amount to show what's actually being held by the account, then I could deduct that from my notice right here, and that would remove that from the total amount requested. Let's say that this $20,800 is earmarked for something else within the trust account. But I do have, or $20,000 of this $20,800 is, but I have $800 that I can deduct from this gift. So right here I could enter $800. In my deduction description I'll put funds in trust, and it's removed that from my total amount requested, excuse me. Once I am okay with everything that has been selected here and all the information that is entered, what I need to do is click the preview button, which will take us to the next screen. The next screen is our actual generated letter template. So the system automatically generates this template based on the information that we entered and opens it up in a Word-like system. So this is a content editor page that will allow you to make changes to this letter template. So I can scroll through here, see if there's any information that I don't like. I could change verbiage if I wanted to. In the middle of the page, you'll see the grid that we are currently using with all of the options that we made. So you can see our premiums with our loan interest, loan principal, outstanding admin fees, and then our other fees and our deductions. Finally, you'll see the total amount requested right at the bottom here. Additional information, if we needed to change some formatting because our grid pushed some information down, we can make changes right here. So I've just moved down this last paragraph. And at the bottom, I'm going to move this one down too, is just the last pieces of our gift notice transmittal form. Another nice thing about these templates is you are able to set them up to automatically pull in contact information that is set in the trust account. So we have 2 fields, one for grantors and one for beneficiaries. that will automatically pull in addresses, phone numbers, emails, date of birth, anything that you have entered at the contact level in the at the trust details screen will pull in so you can verify that information. Very nice field that allows you to try and update your contact information. Up above, you'll see that this looks a lot like Word. If you have questions about how this operates, contact your client service representative, and they can walk you through some of the nuances. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the page to show you these options down here in the lower right-hand corner. These options are how we move to the next step or finish processing our notice. The first button is a previous button that'll take you back to the gift transmittal page where you can create your notice. The next item is a process button. This will move the notice through, generate it to a PDF or Word document once we get to the download page, and save a copy of this notice automatically into the gift notices page at the trust details screen. So I'll show you that here, but we're going to walk through the rest of these first. Process and batch will do the exact same as the process, but it will also stick it into the batch location. So if you wanted to do a batch print job at the end of the day, you could. Create, draft, and batch will kind of come back to, but it's going to add it to that batch job and do a couple different things. So create draft. The difference between create, draft, and process. When we hit the process button, it's going to move the policies selected from step 1, so our gift notices step, into the second step, which is the waiting for gift step. With the create draft button, it's not going to move that step. So it will leave any policies and fees in the current step that they're in, so in that gift notices step. This would be a situation if you needed to have your notice reviewed by someone before it actually went out. Allows you to leave it in there but still generate that notice. Now we're going to step back and hit our process button because we want to move this through to the next step. We're ready to mail. So I'm going to hit process, which is going to bring me to this page. Right here, you can see your file has been saved to the respective folder, which is the gift notices folder. To download and view the file now, you can click download. So that's how you would open up your final copy so that you could print and mail. If you're done, click continue. So I don't need to print this off right now. If I was actually generating the letter, I would. So I'm just going to click continue. Now you'll notice that we only have 4 policies left, and our policy for LeBron James is no longer in the gift notices step. So we need to go and find that, which means going back to our admin console. And it should be in the next step, which is waiting for gifts. So I'm going to click on waiting for gifts. And I know that my premium was due February 5th of 2017, which is right at the bottom of the page here, LeBron James. There's my term policy. So it's moved into the waiting for gifts step. Now what I want to do is show you where our gift notice was saved. So any letters that are generated through the console are going to automatically save in electronic format at the trust level. So I have LeBron James Trust highlighted here. I'm going to hit the View Trust button. That's going to take me to the Trust Details page. If you have questions about the trust details, I say you refer to the general training session that we had and is posted online. And now I want to go to the Documents tab. So over here, our gold tab for Documents, I'm going to pin it in place. And we generated a gift notice. So I'm going to open the gift notices folder, go down to the bottom, and here is a copy of my notice that I just created. So you can see dated with today's date. If I wanted to open that, I can double click. It'll generate that Word document so that I have that available. So anyone that wants to go to the trust page and see a letter that you created, it's automatically saved here. very nice, very convenient for anyone that has multiple users in the system. Now what I want to do is actually go back to the console so we can work through our second step. I'm going to hit the back button, which takes me back to my waiting for gift step. I'm going to find my LeBron James trust policy here. And let's say that I now received a check in the mail today. So I mailed my gift notice 3 weeks ago. Today I received a check from Mr. LeBron James. What I'm going to do is hit my process button, which will take me to the record a gift page or gift transmittal page. The first thing that you'll see is this outstanding notices table. And this table is going to pull in any notices that are outstanding. So anything that you've created on this trust account is going to pull in. With this trust, we only have one gift notice that is currently outstanding. So I'm going to select the radio button next to that one. If you have multiple notices, you can compare the amount or what premium and fee that notice is tied to. Really, it's not going to matter because you can make changes to that notice ahead of time, but this will pull in automatically the information that you added to that notice. So I'm going to click my radio button, and now it'll pull up the same table or grid that we saw when we were creating the notice. So it's filled in all of this information. The only thing that it's removed is any of our fee deductions, so it's pulled those out. But it selected the policy that we had. Our loan interest and loan principal is checked. It's checked the admin fee invoices that we had selected and also added in our other fees. So this tries to save you a step so that you don't have to go through and re-enter all of the information that was contained on that request. Now we did have deductions of $800. So if we had that, we'd have to go through and edit how that was applied. So maybe instead of $1,000, we only paid $200 towards this admin fee invoice, and the rest of the cash available was used to pay the remainder of that fee. I'm going to say that Mr. James just wanted to leave that cash in the account for an emergency, so we allowed that, and he actually sent in down here our full total amount received of $6,850. If that's the amount that you received, you're good to go to the next step. Down below, there is a payment form drop-down. If you hit that drop-down, you can see that we have check, transfer from account, and other. This allows you to fill in some of the information on here. I'm going to say that we received a check, which opens up some other options. The date field, I'm going to enter today's date as the date received. Check number, we'll just say check number 1000, and from, so you can enter in who actually wrote that check to you. LeBron James did. Scroll to the bottom, and now I'm ready to hit the process button. Just like it did in step 1 in our gift notices step, when I hit process, it has now moved that policy out of the waiting for gift step and into the next step in the console, which is our Crummey letters step. So I'm going to go back to the console. This time I'm going to hit the close button to show you what that does. So that takes me back to the admin console summary, and I need to go find my policy again. So I was just in waiting for gifts. I processed through, which means I'm now in Crummey letters. Go find my policy that was due February 5th, 2017. Here it is, our LeBron James Trust. And I want to go to the trust page again. So this time, rather than hitting my View Trust button, the other way that I can get back to the trust details page is by double-clicking. So I double-clicked on the LeBron James Trust, and it takes me to the trust details screen. So that's just something if you'd rather just double-click and save yourself I don't know, a millisecond, then you have that option as well. What I'm going to show you here is what has happened at our accounting level. So if I go to the accounting tab and scroll down, you'll see what has happened is the movement in the console, or that processing, has created a transaction. So received addition to principal. Here's our from and check information. So you have the information there and what was all included in that contribution. So premium, loan interest, loan principal, fees, a total breakdown here of what was included and our total amount. So a nice way to have all of that information available to you or anyone that is viewing the account. They can see what gifts came in, what was all included in that gift. What has also happened is our total cash and equivalents up here has updated with the addition of this $6,850. There are a number of ways that you can use the accounting within the InsuranceIQ system. If you want further information, contact your client service representative and they can walk you through some of the other options. The only way to have the system automatically record these gifts is to use the admin console. So there are other ways to do it manually, but the system will do it automatically if processed through the console. I'm going to hit the back button now so that we can head back to our Crummey letters step. So it's pushed me back into that third step in the administration console. And I'm going to find the LeBron James Trust, hit my process button so that we can go through the next step here. This one sometimes takes a little longer to generate just because it's pulling in a little more information, pulling in beneficiary lists as well as amounts of gifts. So we'll give this a little bit of time to generate here. It's now moved into my step. You'll see the table that we're used to seeing, but this time it looks a little different. Up at the top of the page, under template, you'll see we have date of letter, which will default to today's date. Letter signatory and document type, just like we saw at the gift notices step. You can skip this little type Crummey because you can't change that. And then you have this balance here. So the system is going to track an outstanding Crummey balance based on settings that you have made on what's considered a gift. So is it premium? Is it fee? Did you have other amounts that you were subjecting to Crummey withdrawal rights? In our case, it has automatically pulled in $6,600 worth of outstanding Crummey balance. So from the gifts that were made, I believe the tax prep fee was left off. It was not considered a Crummeyable gift. If you wanted to add that in, you could add it right here. So let's say I decided that tax prep fee was something that was subject to Crummey. I could add $250 and now my total has been adjusted. Most of the time you won't need to do this because you're only going to be dealing with premiums and fees and you'll have those set. I'm going to remove that so my balance is $6,600. Down below, you now have a letters generated section. So the system is going to pull in any beneficiaries that are marked as withdrawal beneficiaries at the trust details page. In this case, we have two beneficiaries listed, Todd Test and Joe James. Let's say that Todd Test was not able to withdraw. Maybe he had been removed from this gift, or LeBron James had decided that Todd was not going to be able to withdraw from this gift. We could remove Todd by unchecking the box next to his name. This will show that only Joe is now going to receive a letter. As we move right across this table, contact type is not going to be anything you can change, but we have this template. This template drop-down allows us to, again, select a Crummey Notice template on the fly. So if we had a different situation and we needed another template, maybe we have a minor situation or it's some other template that you want to have created, you can select that on the fly. Just like with the gift notice template, you are able to set the default for each beneficiary at the trust level on that settings tab. If you have questions about that, contact your client service representative and they can show you what that looks like. I am going to actually select a different template, and I'm going to go with the standard Crummey here. Scrolling down my page, contacts to display in a list within the letter. You could select people if you wanted to pull in their contact information for some reason. Contacts to CC, pretty self-explanatory. Down at the bottom, outstanding to-do items to mark complete as a result of this Crummey. So these are the policy or premiums and fees that are going to be moved to the next step in the console. It's going to default to any that you included on that gift transmittal page. Those all look good to me. So I'm going to hit preview, which will take us to our Word content editor page where we can make edits to this letter as we see fit. I'm going to scroll through here. It doesn't look like anything needs to be changed in my opinion. Everything generated just like I thought it would. Once I feel that the letter is sufficient, I scroll to the bottom of the page and I'll see the exact same options that I saw at the gift notices generator. We have our process and batch, create draft and batch, and create draft. Everything looks good. I am ready to actually print and mail this Crummey notice. So I'm going to hit the process button, which brings me up to the same page that I had at the gift notices step where I can download my notice so that I can actually print that, or I can hit continue, and what will happen is the policy has now been moved from our Crummey letters step. So we don't see our LeBron James policy down here. It's been moved into the 4th step in the admin console. So I want to go and find that policy. I'm going to hit the admin console button here. Go to the premium payment step, which is next after Crummey letters, and find my policy that was due February 5th, 2017 for LeBron James. I'm going to take you back to the trust level one more time. So since I'm highlighted on LeBron James, I'm going to go up and hit View Trust. We'll let this generate here, and now I'm going to go over to the Documents tab. And we just created a Crummey letter, which means that our Crummey letters folder should have an additional document here, and there is our document that we just created, 2016 May 23rd Crummey letter. So the system will automatically save a copy of that Crummey letter into the Crummey letters folder. Again, very, very nice and convenient to give you an electronic copy of that document. We're going to head back to the console now. It'll take us back to our premium payment step. I'm going to go down to the LeBron James policy that we've been working on all day and hit the process button to move through the premium payment step. So let's say that we've received our notice to pay this premium through. We're ready to disperse the payment and mark it paid in the InsuranceIQ system. When I hit that process button, it's going to bring me to a premium payment step, and premium selection is our first item. It's going to only pull in the policy that you hit process by. You're not allowed to make multiple payments at one time, only for the policy that you clicked process. So here's my policy automatically selected. It's going to pull in the information here for scheduled premium and amount payable that we have set at the premium screen at the policy details page. So now instead of the $2,500 that we've been using, it's going to pull in the $3,000 that we edited from. If I still wanted to edit that to $2,500, I could do that right here. Again, if this is only a one-time payment that you're changing the premium structure or the premium amount, you can do that here. If it's going to be something that's ongoing, we ask that you make that change at the premium tab on the policy details page so that we know for future review purposes. I'm going to change this back to my 3,000. And you may have noticed that there is a little plus sign here, which means we have additional information. So if I click my plus sign, it's now opened up loan interest and loan principal. So I could add in my $150 of loan interest, or sorry, $100 of loan interest and $1,500 of loan principal. And this amount has now been updated down here under new premium payment. The new premium payment, the date is going to default to today's date. That amount is going to be added from above. And I can add a description if I wanted to. So maybe I want to say premium plus loan interest and principal. Scroll down to the bottom, and very important to check the next premium due date. So the system will automatically try to generate that date based on the last premium due date and the premium mode that is set in InsuranceIQ. You may want to just give this a quick glance to make sure that it is correct, and you can compare that to the information set over here. So current premium due date is 2/5/2017. The premium mode is quarterly, so May 5th, 2017 looks correct. When everything looks good, you can hit your process button, and it will now move it out of our premium payment step to the final step in the process. To show you that, I'm going to close out of this step, which will take me back to the Admin Console summary page, and go to completed policy payments. In here, we now need to go to the next premium due date. So our policy is switched from 2/5/17 to 5/5/2017. And this completed premium payment step is kind of the holding step for all of the policies that are not somewhere else in the console. So this is where you can go find policies if you needed to move them back into the console for some reason. Okay, so what we're going to do, I want to show you a couple of the things that happened when we completed that premium payment. So I'm actually going to go back to the policy page. To do that, I'm highlighting that policy and going to view policy. We're going to go to the premiums tab, and the first item to look at here is on the right-hand column, last cash premium paid date. It has added today's date, May 23rd, 2016, and the last out-of-pocket amount, that $4,600 that we just paid. So the system automatically updates that last premium paid date and amount. And also down under our premium history section here, it's added a date paid line item for that premium payment. So out-of-pocket amount, $4,600, breakdown loan principal, loan interest, and the user that paid that. So you now have that history on the policy and will pull into future reports. What we also have available to us, we're going to go to the trust level. and click on the Accounting tab. And we showed you the gift receipt transaction. Now if I scroll down here, we also have a dispersed insurance premium expense transaction. So our premium payment transaction is included right here. So you can see the description that we entered there, premium plus loan interest and principal. And it's actually going to break those down below. So the amount that was for premium, loan interest, loan principal, and our total, $4,600, has been deducted from our total cash and equivalents, and that transaction is shown below. That is the last step in the premium console. I just want to go back to the admin console summary page one time and just to touch a little bit on the admin fees section. So those admin fees, if we included those invoices as we were processing through the different steps, have been moving through the corresponding steps in the admin fee console. If we wanted to go and process items in the admin fee console, let's say I hit the fee notices step here, we can handle it the exact same way that we just did in our premium console. So by hitting our process button, it's going to take us to pages that look almost exactly the same, only now they're driven by that fee invoice. Most people are going to include that when they go through the premium console, so it's not as critical to go through this. But the admin fee console would look remarkably similar. If you have additional questions, feel free to contact your client service rep and they'll walk you through some of the potential changes. With that said, I'm going to end our webinar today. I appreciate all of the time that you've taken to listen to this. If you have any questions or additional questions, please feel free to contact your client service representative and we'll give you additional information. Thank you very much for your time.